Alright, hello everyone, welcome to another video on object-oriented programming using C++. In this video, we are going to look at yet another feature of C++. We are going to look at the static keyword. So you might have seen this static keyword in your first year when you were studying C. Alright, so we are going to recall what we studied in our first year, and then we are going to look at how this static keyword makes sense in the context of classes and objects. So without further ado, let us begin today's video. I am going to start by writing a C program. Alright, this being a C program, I am going to include stdio. Then I have this function called fun, and in this function I am going to create a variable called count and initialize it to 0. Alright, then what I am going to do is I am going to print this count. Alright, so let me go ahead and print this, and once I have printed this, I am going to increment the value of count. So instead of doing it in the next line, I can do this in the next line. Alright, but instead of doing this, I am going to do post increment over here itself. Alright, so this does initializes count to 0, prints the value of count, so it would go ahead and print 0, and then it would increment this count's value, which is 0, to 1. It will increment by 1. So this is the thing that the function does. Now let us go ahead and create the main function, and in this main function what I am going to do is I am simply going to call this fun function. Alright, and I am going to return 0. So if I call this fun function, let me do one thing, let me put a new line over here. If I call this fun function, you should already know what is the expected output of this function. Right, I am going to simply print 0. So let us go ahead and look at that. Alright, building, and yeah, I simply print 0. Now this makes sense, there is nothing new that we have done. Okay, so what has happened is in my main function, when I call this fun function, okay, what the OS does behind the scene is it allocates memory for this fun function's data. So there is this local variable in fun function called count. We see that we have created that. Alright, so this count variable will be allocated memory in our stack. Alright, so count will be allocated some memory in stack. That memory location will hold the value 0 because we have initialized count to 0. Then what happens is we are going to print that value. So we are going to print 0, and then what we are going to do is we are going to increment this 0 to 1. Alright, so this is what will happen by the end of fun function. Now once we have finished fun function, once we return from this function, at that point of time, this memory that was allocated for this variable count will be deallocated. Alright, so this memory that was allocated for the local variables of this fun function will be deallocated when I return from this fun function. Alright, so this is what is happening behind the scene. If you have any doubt regarding what is happening, then please go ahead and watch my video on memory management in C++. You will get a better understanding. Alright, now the next thing that I am going to do is I am going to call this fun function 5 times. Alright, so I start with int I equal to 0, I less than 5, and I am going to increment that, and I am calling this fun function 5 times. Alright, and you should already know what to expect. I am going to print this 0 5 times. Now why is this happening? When I call the fun function first time, alright, I will allocate some memory. I will allocate memory for my count in my stack that would have this value 0. I will print this 0. I will increment it to 1. Okay, but then after incrementing it to 1, I will deallocate this memory and I will return back to my main function. Then I will call this fun function again. Now once again I am going to allocate memory for this count. Once again I am going to initialize it to 0. So this old value that was there, what did I do last time? last time I incremented this 0 to 1. So by the end of the last function call, my memory location had the value 1, but the second time when I make this function call, I overwrite this one, and means the 1 is deallocated, the 1 no longer exists. Now once again I begin by initializing it to 0. So the old value that was there does not exist anymore. Alright, the value that we had at the end of my first fun function call, okay, it does not exist anymore when I try to when I call the fun function again. Alright, so every time I call the fun function, memory will be allocated. I will initialize the value of count, then I will print that value, I will increment it from 0 to 1. So I am doing this every time, and then when I return from the fun function, I deallocate the memory that I allocated for count. Alright, so this is what is happening behind the scene, and therefore every time when I call the fun function, I print 0, because every time I am initializing this memory and I am initializing it to 0. Alright, so every time I end up printing 0, and by the end of every function call I increment it to 1, but that does not have any effect in my program. I lose the value. The fact that I increment this 0 to 1, when I come out of this function, when I return from this function, this information is lost. Right? That makes sense, because this memory that was allocated for this variable, it is deallocated. This memory no longer is reachable, no longer exists. So this memory is no longer usable. Alright. So it makes sense, the output makes sense from what we have studied up to this point. Now I am going to make one very small change to my program. Alright. In front of this count, I am going to write static. Fine, and then I am going to compile and run this program. Now everything else is same. Alright, I have just written static in front of count, and I see that my output has changed. Now what is happening? The first time I call fun function, I initialize this count to 0. Alright, then the next time when I call this fun function, let us finish talking about the first time when I call the fun function. The first time when I call the fun function, I initialize this count. There is this variable called count inside this fun function. Now I am declaring it as static. This variable has some location in memory. In that location, I am putting this value 0. That is what I mean by saying that I am initializing count to 0. So when I call this fun function for the first time, I initialize count to 0. Then in the next line, what am I doing? I am printing this value, right? So I am printing the value of count. Count has the value 0. So I am printing 0 to my standard output. Alright, and I can see that 0 is in fact being printed to my standard output. Then what do? Then I increment the value of count. Alright. Now that location in memory has the value 1. Okay. Now the difference between what was happening last time and what is happening now is this. Last time the memory for this variable count was being allocated in stack. This count was allocated memory in stack, right? So when I called the function, this memory was allocated. When I return from this function, the memory was deallocated. Alright, so this loop kept on happening. Now what is going to happen is, instead of allocating memory for this variable in stack, I am going to allocate memory for this variable in my data segment. Alright, the same place where I allocate memory for all these global variables that I have. Alright, so yeah, the advantage of this is that when I return from a function call, alright, my stack, whatever I allocate in stack, that is going to be destroyed, but whatever is there in my data segment, that is going to be persistent. Alright, so what does this mean in the context of our program? So this is what is happening. The first time when I call fun function, this count variable is initialized to 0. I print this value 0. I increment this value by 1. Now when I call this fun function again, this line will not be executed. Alright, line number 3 is not going to have any effect. So static variable is initialized only once when I try to initialize it for the first time. When I make the function call for the first time, I am initializing this count to 0. Then when I make the function call for the second time, there is no more going to be any initialization. So count had this value 1 at the end of my first function call. Now when I make this function call again, this 1 is not going to be overwritten and 0 is going to be written over there. Alright, so this initialization takes place just once. Important point to remember. Okay, now the first time when I call, it gets initialized to 0. I return from the function call after incrementing this 0 to 1. The second time when I call this fun function, alright, and in this line number 4, I try to print the value of count. What I get is the last updated value of count. So the last time when I had, what was the value of count? I had 0, and from 0 I had incremented it to 1. So 1 was the value that was there in my memory. So I am going to access 1. So when I try to access this count, I am going to get this value 1. Alright, so I end up printing 1. And then I increment it again. Now when I increment it again, this 1 gets incremented to 2, and after that I return from this function. Alright, now once I return from this function, then I call this function again. Now inside this function, initialization is not going to take place. Alright, I try to print the value, so I get this value 2, because that is the value that we updated to at the end of our last function call. So we end up printing 2, and after printing 2 we increment this value to 3, and we keep on doing this as many times as I call this function. Alright, so this is static, primitive data type is being made static inside a function. Alright, so I hope it is not a very difficult idea to understand. The most important thing that you should remember is that static data type is initialized just once when I call this function for the first time. Static data type is not allocated memory in stack, it is allocated memory in data segment. The lifetime of the memory is the lifetime of the program. The memory that you allocate for count, it is going to be given to this variable at the very start of the program. When you start the program, before you even call the fun function for the first time, even before that, this memory will be allocated for your function. Alright, so that is something that you are going to do. You are going to allocate before you even start, when you start running the program, and then this memory will be available till the end of your program. So the scope of the variable is the lifetime of the program. Your memory, this variable will be available from the start to the end of your program. Alright, so that is another point. Now I just showed you by initializing this variable to 0. Now let us run this program again. This time I am going to initialize it to 5, and therefore not a major thing is going to happen. Just the first time when I initialize this count variable, I am going to initialize it to 5, and then I am going to print this 5, and I am going to increment this 5 to 6. So next time when I call this fun function again, this initialization is not going to take place, because initialization of static variable takes place only once when I call this fun function for the first time. So okay, so initialization is not going to take place. I am going to print the value of count. So count now has the value 6, because that is what we incremented it to at the end of our last function call. So I am going to print 6 and then I am going to increment it to 7. I will call the function again. I am going to print 7 and I will increment it to 8. So I am going to keep on doing that. So let us go ahead and see if that happens. Yeah, that is happening as expected. Okay. Now there is one final thing that I want to tell you. If I don't initialize count, if I don't initialize this static variable to any value, there is going to be automatic special initialization and the variable will be initialized to 0. Okay, so right now I am not initializing it, but when I call the fun function for the first time, this count will be initialized to 0. So there is going to be this automatic initialization. Alright, so this is what it is. Now just to show the difference between count and a normal variable, normal local variable, let me create a normal local variable and I am going to call it stack, because this variable is going to be in my stack. Alright, so I am going to print both count and stack and I am going to increment both of them. Alright, so let us go ahead and run this program 5 times. Okay, this is a garbage value that is being printed. I don't want to print garbage value, so let me initialize stack to 10. Count, let me initialize it to 5. If I don't initialize count to anything, it will be initialized to 0. Alright, because count is a static variable and static variables are by default, if you don't initialize it to anything, are by default initialized to 0. Alright, so but we are initializing it to 5. Okay, and then stack we are initializing it to 10. Now let us go ahead and run this program. So you see this count, I am incrementing both count and stack, but only the count is persistent over function call, right? Stack, although I am incrementing the value of stack, but this incremented value does not roll over to the next function call. So when I make the fun function call for the first time, I end up printing count equal to 5, I end up printing stack equal to 10, and then I increment count to 6 and stack to 11 and then I return from the function call. And when I call the function call again for the second time, what is happening is when I try to print count, I get the last updated value, okay, of count, that is 6, and I end up printing 6, but stack I am initializing it again to 10 and I print 10 again. Why is this happening? Because count, this static variable count, is allocated memory in data segment. So when I return from the function, that memory stays as it is. Okay, that memory is not removed. That memory has the lifetime of the program. The scope of the variable is the lifetime of the program. So until your program ends, that memory will not be destroyed. Okay, that is going to be there. But the memory that I allocate for this stack, what is happening is this: every time I call this fun function, I will be allocated this memory for this stack variable in the stack memory. Alright, and then when I return from the fun function, that memory will be destroyed. So between function call, this memory location for this stack variable is not going to be persistent. The first time I make the call, I am going to allocate memory for stack in my stack memory. I am going to initialize it to 10. I am going to print it. I am going to increment it to 11, and then I am going to return from this function. Alright. So when I return from this function, what is going to happen is that the memory that I allocated in the stack for this variable, that memory is going to be destroyed. Now when I call this function again, then what is going to happen? I am going to allocate this memory again in stack. This is, I am going to initialize it again to 10, and then I am going to print this 10, and then I am going to increment it to 11, and then I am going to return. When I return, I am going to destroy it again. So this stack variable, the memory for the stack variable is not persistent. It gets destroyed when I return from this function call. but this memory for the count variable, which is a static variable, is persistent. This is allocated memory in data segment. So although I return from the function call, this memory is not destroyed. When I make the function call again, when I try to access this variable again in the next function call, I will be able to access it. Alright, so this is what it is. This is static data type. Alright, so we are using a primitive data type. We are using int right now to demonstrate this thing, but this is going to be true with any other primitive data type as well. Alright, and not only primitive data type, this is going to be true with user defined data type as well. So let us go ahead and try to look at a user defined data type. Next, we are going to define a data type. We are going to define a class, and then we are going to create an object out of that class. We are going to do that next, but before doing that, let us try to recall some important points that you should remember out of stack. Stack is out of static variable. They are allocated memory in data segment. They are initialized once and only once when we try to initialize it for the first time. So in our case, when I call this fun function for the first time, at that point of time, count will be initialized to 5. When I call it for the second time, I am not going to reinitialize it to 5. Okay, so initialization takes place only once, and then if I do not initialize it to anything, we will be initializing it to 0. The compiler will by default automatically initialize it to 0. Alright, so 3 important points regarding static variable inside a function. Let us now go ahead and remove all these things. We will come back to this. Let us go ahead and create a class. So I am going to create a class called say circle. Okay, no reason, just going to call it circle, and then this circle class is going to have one public constructor. Alright, and inside this constructor I am simply going to print out, this is constructor, and after that I am going to print a new line, and then okay, see, up to this point we were writing C program, okay, and that is going to be relevant to C++ as well, because C is a subset of C++. Now we are going to write C++ program. We are using class. Alright, so I am going to start using this is IOStream. Sorry, I don't know what I was writing. Then using namespace std. So now we are trying to create a C. What did I do? Sorry about my typing skills. And now we are writing a C++ program. Alright. So first we have a constructor. Now let us go ahead and write a destructor. Inside this destructor I am going to say this is destructor, and then I need to write a semicolon at the end of the class definition. So this is my entire class. Okay, let us not bother too much about all these things. So this is the circle class. Right, now in this circle class I have a constructor, destructor. If you don't know what is a constructor and what is a destructor, I suggest you go back and watch the video on constructor and destructor, else watching this video will not make any sense to you. Alright, and then in my fun function what I am going to do is I am going to create a object of type circle. Alright, and in my main function let me go ahead and print before fun. Okay, so this string I am expecting it to be printed before I call the fun function, and then I am going to go ahead and call the fun function, and then finally I am going to call this after fun. Alright, Now you should by now be able to guess what is the output, what is going to be the output of the code that I have on my screen right now. Alright, so I am going to of course start executing from the first line of my main function. So in my first line of my main function, that is my line number 16, I am going to print before fun to my console. Okay, then I am going to call this fun function. When I call this fun function, I am going to go over to the fun function. I am going to create an object inside this fun function. Where is this object going to be created? Where is this object going to be allocated memory? This is a local variable of the fun function, so this is going to be allocated memory in the stack. Alright, so at the beginning of my fun function, I am going to allocate memory for the object in stack. I am going to initialize this object which is allocated memory in stack. So I am going to initialize it inside this fun function, and then I am going to return from this fun function. Alright, so when I return from this fun function, at that time I am going to deallocate this memory that was allocated for this object. Alright, so this object essentially is going to be destroyed, and then I am going to return from the function. My return will be complete after this destruction of whatever was allocated for this fun function in the stack. Alright, whatever was allocated in stack will be deallocated, will be destroyed, and then I will come back to this main function. Alright, so in this main function, in line number 17, I had called the fun function. I return from the fun function. Now I am in line number 18. In line number 18, I am going to print after fun. Alright, so I am going to print before fun at the very beginning. I am going to print after fun at the very end. What am I going to print in the middle? Okay, that is a question that you should be able to answer. Now answer for yourself and see if the output that we get is the output that you expected to get. Alright, so this is the output. So at the very beginning, I am printing before fun. At the very end, I am printing after fun. And then I am printing this is constructor and this is destructor, two different lines. So when are this being printed? So inside this fun function, when I create this object, alright, when I initialize this object, at that time the constructor of the object is called. Alright, so when the constructor of the object is called, so at that time I am going to print this is constructor, and then when I return from this fun function, the destructor of the object is called, and when the destructor is called, I am going to print this is destructor. Alright, so this is what it is. When I go to the when I call this fun function, inside this fun function, when creating this object, I call the constructor prints this is constructor. When I return from this fun function, the memory that was allocated for the object is deallocated, the object is destroyed. When the object is destroyed, the destructor is called. When I call this destructor, it prints this is destructor. So these are the two strings that are printed to my standard output, and these are in accordance with what we expected to be printed to the standard output. Alright, so this is what we have. Now if I call this fun function 5 times, something is very wrong with my typing skills today, sorry about that. Okay, if I call this fun function 5 times, what is going to happen? Once again, at the very beginning of my program, I am going to print before fun. At the end of my program, I am going to print after fun. And in between, what is going to happen is I am going to call this fun function 5 times. So each time when I call this fun function, I am going to create this object in stack. So each time when I create this object, I am going to call the constructor of the class of the object, and that is going to print this is constructor. When I return from the function, it is going to print this is destructor. Alright, so this is going to happen each time I call the fun function. So I am calling the fun function 5 times. So I am going to print this is constructor followed by this is destructor 5 times. Alright, and that makes sense. If this does not make sense, then you have to watch the video on constructor and destructor. Alright, and we get this output. The output that we expected is the output that we get. Alright, I am printing this is constructor followed by this is destructor 5 times. Alright, so far so good. We did not do anything related to constructor and destructor up to this point out of ordinary. Alright, everything that we did was something, everything we have been doing in this video related to constructor and destructor is something that we already studied, that we already expected to happen. Alright, we did not study anything new regarding constructor and destructor or classes up to this point in this class. Now let us go ahead and make one small change to my program. I am going to write static in front of the object's name. Now I have made this object, this class object, this user defined variable is static. Alright, like we made the primitive data type, this int count static in our last program. In the same way we have made this object static. Okay, the implication of doing this, the way that we allocated memory for our count variable. So we saw count, this static data type count in our previous example. The way we allocated memory, where did we allocate this memory? We allocated it in static data segment. Alright, so we are going to create memory for this object C in data segment. Alright, previously we were doing this in stack. We are no longer going to do this in stack. We are going to do this in data segment. Alright, then the memory will be allocated at the beginning of the program. The memory, the scope of the object, this memory is going to stay alive till the end of my program, not the end of my function call. Alright, unlike this object that I created in stack, the longevity of that object that I created on the stack was the end of the function call. When I return from the function call, that object that I created on stack, that non-static object got destroyed. But this static object is going to stay alive even if I return from the function call. Alright, when is it going to be destroyed? It is going to be destroyed when my program ends. Alright, because the lifetime of this object is the lifetime of the program. Alright, so let us go ahead and try to see if the things that I am saying are true. Okay, I have compiled and executed. Now let us see what is the output, and let us try to make sense out of this output. So I am going to start executing from main. The very first thing that I do is I print before fun, and that is being printed to the standard output to my console. Then I call this fun function. In this fun function I create this object. Alright, so when I create this object, when I initialize it, this object, I call this is constructor. Alright, and then I return from this fun function. When I return from this fun function, so when I return from this fun function, this is going to happen. If this fun function had some data variable that were not static, those would be allocated memory in stack, those would be destroyed. But now when I am returning from the fun function, this object C, this object is static, therefore it is allocated memory in data segment. This object is not destroyed. Alright, the lifetime of the object is the lifetime of the program. Alright, so when I return from this fun function, the destructor is not called, unlike before. Alright, so I return from line number 17, I reach line number 18, I print after fun, and that is being printed over here, and then I return from the main function. When I return from the main function, my program ends. Now before I really end my program, when my program ends, at that time this object is going to be destroyed. Alright, so when my program ends, At that time I'm going to call the destructor and I'm going to print this is destructor. Very interesting. So do you see the difference between what was happening when this object was not static and when the object is static? When the object was not static, at that point of time, when I call this function, the object was created. When I return from the function, the object was destroyed. Now when the object is static, when I call the function for the first time, the object is created. If I call the function again, see, initialization takes place only once. We have already discussed this. Okay, so if I call this function again, I will be able to access the value what was there. Okay, that is fine. We will soon see this. But when important point to remember right now is this: when I return from the function, I do not destroy this object. All right, I destroy this object when I end my program. Okay, that is another point to remember. Now let us do one thing. Let us try to call this fun function 5 times. So I am going to go ahead and call this fun function 5 times. I am compiling and running this program. So yeah, interesting. When although I am calling this fun function 5 times, the object is initialized, the constructor is called only once. The very first time when I call this fun function, at that point of time, the constructor is going to be called, and then when I call the fun function again, nothing new is going to happen. All right. Means not this object is not going to be initialized again. Okay, so initialization takes place only once when I call the function for the first time. Okay, and then when I return from the function, it is not going to be destroyed. This object is going to be there in memory. And finally, when I end the program in line number 19, when I return out of main, at that time this object is going to be destroyed. So at that time the destructor is going to be called at the very end. Alright, now let us go ahead and do one more thing. Let us create a public variable int, say count. Once again, let's call it count, and I'm initializing it to 0. Okay, now let me do one thing. I'm going to do this cout of c.count. C is the object and count is the variable that I'm trying to print. And then what I'm going to do is, I'm going to, after printing, I'm going to post increment. I'm going to do this increment after accessing the value. So when I access c.count at that to do this cout to print to my standard output, at that time I'm accessing the value. After accessing the value, I'm going to increment it. All right. So this is post increment. Yeah. So this is what I'm going to do. All right. So let us go ahead and run this program. Alright, once again, interesting. Cout is equal to 0, that is what was defined. So when I create this object, when I create this static object, I have count equal to 0. Now the first time when I call this fun function, I am initializing this object. Count is set to 0 inside this object. Now when I print it, I end up printing 0, and then I increment this count to 1. Okay, so count was previously 0, now it is 1. So when I print it, I printed this previous value which was 0 before incremented it, so I end up printing 0. Now I return from this function. Because this object is in data segment, alright, the change that I made is persistent. The change is going to stay. So the next time when I call this fun function, I print the value of count, I get the change that I made. The change was what? I incremented it from 0 to 1. So now when I access the value of count through this c.count, I end up printing 1. Okay, so 1 is what I am printing. Then I increment this 1 to 2. And then the next time when I call the fun function, I get this value 2. I increment it to 3 and so on. Okay, now when is the object being created? When is the object being initialized? It is being initialized when I am calling this fun function for the very first time. Alright, I am calling it 5 times. Had it been initialized every time, then this count would get the value 0 every time. I would print 0 every time, but that is not happening. Also, the constructor would have been called every time, but that is also not happening. So I know by looking at the output, by analyzing this output, I can understand that the object is initialized just once when I call this fun function for the very first time. Alright, so this is what it is. Now, yeah, so this is about it. Now let us go ahead and do a very simple thing. I am going to create another object, right? I am going to create another circle object, and this is going to be D. I am going to call this D, and then I am going to print D dot count, and I am going to do post increment of this as well. Alright, now I am going to print both C dot count and D dot count, and I am going to do this 5 times. Now I really want you to pause this video, really think about what is going to be the output. Do consider the fact that there is a constructor and destructor as well. Do consider this fact that this object C is going to be allocated memory in static data memory. So this object C is going to be initialized once when I call this fun function for the first time, and then its lifetime is going to be the lifetime of the program. That is something to consider. And think about what is this D object. This D object is a local variable of the fun function, so it will be allocated memory in stack. So every time I call this fun function, this D object is going to be created in stack, and when I return from the fun function, this D object is going to be destroyed from the stack. Alright, so with this D object, the constructor and destructor are going to be called one after the other every time when I call this fun function, right? Because I am going to create and destroy this D object every time I call this fun function. I am going to do that in stack. Every time I call this fun function, D will be allocated memory in stack. Every time I return from fun function, this memory that was allocated to D will be destroyed, will be deallocated. Alright, so those are some things to consider before you think about what is going to be the output of the program. Okay, so let us go ahead and see the output of the program. Alright, so this is the output, and I believe the output, if you thought really hard about it, this is what you would have expected, right? So before fun is printed at the very beginning in this line number 19, and then when I call this fun function for the first time, this static variable C, this static object C is going to be initialized. When the static object C is initialized, at that time the constructor for this C object is going to be called, that is going to print this is constructor, and then what is going to happen, this D object is going to be initialized. Alright, so this D object is going to be initialized. At that time D object's constructor is going to be called, and that is going to print this is constructor. So we are going to end up printing this is constructor 2 times for these 2 different objects that we are creating. Alright, and both C.count and D.count right now have the value 0. Okay, so we end up printing 0 and 0 to our standard output, and then we increment both of them to 1. Alright, so we are doing post increment after printing 0 and 0. Now we have incremented this value to 1 and 1. Alright, and then we return from this fun function. Now when we return from this fun function, what is happening? This D object was allocated memory in space, in stack. This is destroyed. So when this D object is destroyed, at that time the D object's destructor is going to be called, and so we are going to print this is destructor. Alright, so what is the implication of this D object being destroyed? The count of this D object that we had incremented to 1 from 0, that is going to be removed as well. Alright, this history is removed. Now when I call the fun function for the second time, I am going to create this D object again, okay, in stack. So I call the D objects constructor again. Then I go ahead and do this, reach this line. In this line, I print c.count. Now c is a static object, therefore the update that I made last time is persistent. So I get this update. Alright, so I had updated it to 1, I end up printing 1. But D is not static, it is there in my stack. So I am initializing it again. This D object I have just initialized, therefore I got this. This is constructor was printed again. Alright, so when reinitializing this D object, I get this D equal to 0, D.count equal to 0. So I print the 0 again. Okay, and then I increment this c.count to 2 and D.count to 1. And then I return from this function. At that time, I call the destructor of D and it prints this is destructor. And this keeps happening. I call this fun function again. The D object is created in stack again. The the count of this D object is initialized to 0. I print c.count and D.count. When I print c.count, I get the value 2 because that is what was updated. The c.count was updated to when I call the function the last time, and I print D.count equal to 0 because D.count is just initialized to 0 in the stack. I do this, I print this, I print 2 and 0. That is what I see printed on my standard output, and then I return from this fun function. Alright, and I do this in a loop. Now after doing this in a loop, at the very end I print so the last time when I call the fun function, the very last time, at the end, the fifth time when I call this fun function, I print this is constructor. When creating this D object, I print count c.count equal to 4 and D.count once again is going to be 0. And when I return from this fun function for the last time, for the fifth time, I print this is destructor because D object is destroyed, it is allocated in stack. When I return from this fun function, the stack memory is deallocated, therefore the object is destroyed, and I come out of this loop. After calling this fun function 5 times, this loop ends, this for loop ends, and I come out of this loop. I reach line number 21. Okay, in line number 21 I print after fun, and so that is what is printed to my standard output after fun, and then I end the program. I return out of this main function. That is how my program ends. When my program ends, the lifetime of the program is over. When the lifetime of the program is over, the lifetime of this static object is also over. When the lifetime of the static object is over, I call the destructor of this static object. So when the destructor of the static object is called, I print this is destructor to my standard output, and I return out of this program. I completely exit out of this program. Alright, so this is what it is. This is how static variable works. Alright, now fine. So this is almost like static primitive data type that we saw in our previous example. This is static object, class object that inside a function. So what would happen if I make a class object static inside a function? And so this is what is happening. I hope this makes sense. Once again, like primitive data type, if I make a data type static inside a function, it will not be allocated memory in stack, it will be allocated memory in data segment. Then initialization of this stack of this object will take place only once when I call this function for the very first time. Okay, when I call this function at a later point of time, initialization is not going to take place again. Then this object is persistent, so whatever change I make to the object is going to stay. So if I call this function again, I am going to see those changes. Then another point is this the lifetime of the object, the lifetime of the static object is the lifetime of the program. So when I call this program, when I start this program, at that time the object will be allocated memory in data segment, and this memory will stay until the end of my program. Alright, so this memory will not be deallocated until the end of my program. So lifetime of the object is the lifetime of the program. Alright, so this is what it is. This is all about static class object, static object inside a function. So up to this point we have seen static primitive data type inside a function, we have seen static class object inside a function. Let us look at more static features, the use of this static keyword in the context of object oriented programming. Let us look at more examples, but for that I will not be needing all these things. I will not be needing this one function, main itself is sufficient. Now what I am going to do is I am going to create this static count. I am going to make a data attribute of my class static, okay, and then I am going to make some non-static, say radius or pi. So I have made pi an integer, pi cannot be an integer. Okay, so double is the base that I can do. Let me make it a double. So it's 3.1415. Okay, so I have made this count static. Alright, let me try to compile and see if there is any problem. Okay, there is a problem. So it says inside this class I cannot initialize this static member circle count. Okay, so I cannot initialize this count inside this class. This is not const. Okay, so this is not constant. So since this is not constant, I cannot initialize it inside the class. So let me not initialize it inside the class. Okay, I have it uninitialized. And then now let me go ahead and try to compile this program. Okay, now everything is working fine. Now I need to initialize this count. What I will do is this, very interesting. Let me initialize it to 10. Alright, so now I have initialized count to 10, and this is very interesting. In order to initialize count to 10, I wrote the name of the class to which this static variable belongs. Okay, so count belongs to this static class. Count is a static variable, it's an integer, it belongs to the class circle. So I have written the name of the class to which this static variable belongs. After that I have written the scope resolution operator, two semicolons, two columns, and then I have written the name of the variable, name of the static variable. Alright, and before that I have written the data type, and then I initialize it to some value. Alright, now let me go ahead and do one thing. Let me go ahead and print count. And after printing I am going to increment it. I am going to give a new line, and then I am going to print count again. Alright, so this is what it is. Now let me go ahead, compile and run this program. Okay, so I am printing 10 and 11 to my standard output. All right. So this is what it is. I have printed 10 because that is what I initialized it to, and then after printing 10 I have incremented it, and the next time when I print it I print 11. Okay, so there is something interesting that you should note in this. All right, we are able to access this count, this static data attribute count, which is a data attribute of this class, which is a member of this class circle. I am able to access it without creating an object of this class. All right, so this is what it is. Now let me try to access pi. Pi is also a data attribute. All right, let me do the same thing with pi. Now when I try to access pi, I get that this is an error. So it's an invalid use of non-static data member pi. All right, so I cannot do the same thing with pi. All right, in order to use pi, I will have to create a object. All right, but this count, I am able to use it without creating an object. All right, so a few points to remember about static data attribute. These are actually not part of the object. All right, this static data attribute is outside the object. So this count, which is a static data attribute of this class circle, this count variable, this count data attribute will be allocated memory in data segment. All right, and then this pi, for example, this pi is also a data attribute, but this is non-static. Pi will be allocated memory when we allocate memory for the object. So if I allocate memory for the object in heap, this pi will be given memory inside the memory for the object. All right, so when I create an object, at that time I will create this object will be allocated memory, and inside this object's memory pi will be allocated some memory. All right, so I can access this pi only after creating an object. Right now I cannot access pi. Why? Because I did not create an object. So there is this pi is not there, this variable pi is not there anywhere in my memory. All right, but if I access this count, okay, this count is already allocated memory when at the start of my program. Okay, and then how long is this memory going to stay? The lifetime is going to be the end, till the end of my program. Okay, so this memory is already allocated for count, which is a static data attribute. All right, pi is not static, so it is not allocated memory yet. When will pi be allocated memory? Pi will be allocated memory when I create an object. All right, but count is static data attribute. This count is allocated memory at the beginning of the program itself. So since count is already allocated memory, for that reason I am able to initialize count. All right, I am able to access the value, I am able to increment it, I am able to print it. All right, so I am able to access count. All right, do update the value, print the value, read, write. All right, initialize. I can do all these things with count without creating an object. All right, why can I do this? Because count is already allocated some memory, but pi is not allocated, therefore I cannot do all these things with pi. Pi is not yet allocated memory space in my memory. Why is pi not allocated? When will pi be allocated space in memory? When I create an object. All right, we will see this. Now there is one more thing that follows from what I said. Okay, this static variable count is not inside my function, inside my object. Okay, the memory for count is not inside the memory of the object. So when I create multiple objects, let me go ahead and create multiple objects. So I am going to create two circle objects. So let me create circle C and circle D. Alright, and then what I am going to do is I am going to print for circle C. Alright, I am going to print C dot count, and then I am going to give a space, and then I am going to print C dot pi. Alright, and I am going to print a new line, and then in the next line what I am going to do is C dot count. I am going to update this value. Let me set this value to 20. It was initially 10. Now I have updated it to 20. Alright. Now after updating it to 20, I am updating C dot count to 20. Alright. I am going to print the value for D. So I am going to print here D dot count and D dot pi. And there is something else that I am going to do before printing for D. I am going to update C dot pi to some other number, 5.6789. Alright. So yeah. Now what is going to happen? I am going to create two objects. Alright. C object is going to be created and D object is going to be created. So I am going to create two objects, and both of them are going to be allocated memory in stack. So these two are going to be allocated memory in stack. Why? Because these are local variables of this main function. Main is also a function. So local variables of function are allocated memory in stack. We know that. We statically created this. We did not create this dynamically on the heap. Alright. So C and D will be allocated memory in stack, and then inside the C and D object, alright, the memory that is allocated for the C and D object, I am going to have memory for pi. So this C object is going to have a memory for pi, and the D object is also going to have some memory allocated for pi. So both these objects are going to have memory for pi. Alright, but count is not going to be there inside this memory that is allocated for the object. The count, this static variable count, this static data attribute count is going to be allocated memory in data segment. Alright, so there is going to be only one copy of count in data segment, and both these objects are going to share that copy. Alright, so let us see if this is true by analyzing the output of this program. Alright, so for circle C, I am printing C dot count. Count I had initialized to 10, and I print C dot pi. Pi is 3.1415. So when I print C dot count and C dot pi, I end up printing 10 and 3.1415 respectively, and that is what is actually printed, 10 and 3.1415. And then what I am doing? I am updating C dot count to 20 and C dot pi to 5.6789. And when I print for D, I am printing D dot count and D dot pi. Alright. So I have updated C dot pi. There are two objects C and D. Both of them have two different locations in memory. Now inside the location for C object, there is this location for C's pi. Inside the location for D object, there is this location for D's pi. Alright. So C's pi was 3.1415. I updated it to 5.6789, but D's pi is untouched. Alright, it's a different location in memory. It was initialized to 3.1415. Right now it is still 3.1415. Alright, I did not touch D's pi. Therefore, when I update c/pi, alright, c.pi, and I print d.pi, I end up printing 3.1415. Alright, because when I updated c.pi, I did not touch d.pi. These are two different locations in memory. Now contrast that with what is happening with c.count and d.count. C.count and d.count. Count is a static data attribute. Okay, this is not a part of the object. This C and D are two objects that have two different locations in memory. This count static data attribute is not a part of those locations in memory. Alright, C.count and d.count. This count data attribute will be allocated memory in data segment. Alright, and there is only going to be one copy of data segment in the data segment. So when I change c.count, alright, c.count, I had initialized this count to 10. When I set c.count to 20, alright, here I have updated c.count to 20. Now when I print d.count, I am accessing the same memory location, right, in data segment. C.count and d.count are pointing to the same location in memory. So when I access d.count, I end up printing 20. Although I had used I had updated c.count to 20, when I print d.count, I get 20. Alright, because c.count and d.count are essentially the same location in memory. Alright, these are static data attribute. Alright, so this is what it is. So about static data attribute, a little bit of refresher. Static data attribute of a class is not allocated memory when we create objects of the class. They are allocated memory outside the class. All in the data segment, all objects of the class share a single copy of the static memory, static data attribute. So all objects of the class share a single copy of the static data attribute. Alright, static data attributes can be accessed, initialized without creating an object of the class. Alright, so these are points to access static data attribute without creating an object. I write class name, scope resolution operator followed by this static data attribute name. Alright, for example, here our static data attribute is count, class name is circle, so we write circle followed by scope resolution operator followed by count. Alright, so this is all about static data attribute inside a class. Now the final thing that we are going to see is static member. So static member method. Alright, next we are going to look at static method inside a class. So we begin by writing static, then return type, and then say then the name of the class, say circumference. So we are going to print the circumference of a circle. Alright, let me simply print C out. The circumference is say 10. This is what I am going to print inside this function, inside this method. And now one good thing about this kind of static method is this. Let us use this in a normal way. If I create a circle object C, say I can call C.circumference. Okay, this is like before, calling a method of a class like before using an object. I have called this class, everything is fine. I can take some parameter. Alright, this is the radius, therefore circumference will be 2 into 3.1415, this is pi into r. So twice pi r is the formula to find circumference. So this is what I am doing over here. Alright, and I have to pass this parameter. Say if I pass parameter 10 and I call this function, I will get the circumference. The circumference is 62.83. Okay, and so this is what I get. I can pass parameters to static method. I can call static method using an object. Everything is fine, everything is as it is, as we have seen with all other methods that we have written in C++ till now. At this point of time, you should not see any difference between this static method that we have written and the other methods that exist, right? The other methods that we have written in our previous classes. Now, the advantage. Now, you might be wondering, if there is no difference, then what is the point of creating such a method, right? So, the advantage is that, see, I am going to make measurement this with some kind of a circle, right? I am going to find the circumference of a circle. So, I am going to pass some radius, and then this method is going to print out the circumference of that circle. Now, it does not make sense for me to simply create an object for such a simple task. Alright, why should I allocate memory for an object? Why should I maintain an object if I need to do such kind of a thing? Alright, now this kind of a object is not going to be used for any other reason, right? So there is no point in making an object out of this. Therefore, if I need to call this method, it would be better if I could call this method without creating an object. Alright, and that is the whole point behind making this method static. I can call this method without creating an object, and that is what I am going to do right now. Alright, in the same way in which I accessed this static data attribute, using the same kind of syntax, we are going to access this static methods. Alright, I am going to write the name of the class, followed by the scope resolution operator, followed by the method name, and then if there is parameter, I am going to pass parameter. So we are taking one parameter, I am going to pass that parameter. Alright, so fine, I am going to do this. Let me go ahead and compile this, and I am able to compile and run this. Alright, so this is good. I am able to call this method without creating an object out of the class. Alright, so this is one advantage of static method. Now, you may have guessed, static method need not be allocated memory. Okay, this is not an object, but the local variables of such method will be allocated memory in the static data segment. Alright, so this is what it is. This kind of method are called static method. Alright, next what we are going to do is this. This pi 3.1415, it does not make sense for me to hard code this into this formula. Okay, so what I am going to do is I am going to have this data type pi that I initialize to 3.1415. okay, and instead of writing pi, instead of writing 3.1415, I am going to write pi over here. I am trying to access this data type of this data attribute pi over here. Okay, but there is a problem. So what is the problem? Let us go ahead and compile and try to read the error. So it says invalid use of member circle pi in static member function. In this member function is circumference. Okay, so circumference is static, this method is static, but I am trying to use a non-static data attribute. So do you see the problem? The problem is this. This pi right now is non-static. Since it is non-static, That means it will be allocated memory when I will create an object out of this class. Alright, but circumference, this method is static, therefore I will be able to access this method without creating an object. Now this method is trying to use a data attribute that will be allocated memory when I create an object. Alright, but the circumference itself can be called without creating an object. Think about the situation. Think about this main function that you see on your screen right now. Okay, if I call this circumference method with this parameter 10, where is this pi? This circumference method is trying to use this variable, use this data attribute called pi. Alright, but where is this pi? I did not create an object yet. Alright, because I did not create an object yet, so there is no point of any object being allocated any place in memory. Alright, I did not create any object, so no object is there in memory. That makes sense. Now because there is no object in memory, this pi is not there in memory because pi will be inside some object of class circle. I did not create such an object. Because I did not create such an object, pi is not there. Okay, now in my function, in my method, I am trying to access this pi, but pi does not even exist in memory. Okay, so this is a problem, right? Do you see the problem? I am trying to access something that does not exist. Therefore, I cannot access non-static data attribute inside a static function. Alright, now not only data attribute, I cannot even call non-static method inside a static method. I will show that, but let us just work with data attribute right now. We will talk about methods soon. Now what to do? I cannot use non-static data attribute inside a static method. So let us make this attribute static. So that is something we can do. Okay. Now I have made this attribute static. I try to compile this. Now you can see the error that was shown over here, that is gone. But I have a new error over here. It says that this is not constant, pi is not constant. Therefore, I cannot do in-class initialization. I cannot initialize inside this class. So that is not a problem. Let us go ahead and initialize it outside the class. Alright, so this is double circle scope resolution double colon pi is 3.1415 and the semicolon at the end. So right now I have done initialization outside the class. I cannot do initialization in class. I cannot do initialization inside the class. So doing initialization outside. Let us go ahead and compile, and yeah, right now everything is fine. I can access pi inside my static data inside my static method, because pi is now a static data attribute. Alright, so what is the takeaway from this whatever we are doing? I cannot create I cannot access non-static data attribute inside a static method. I can access static data attribute inside a static method, and I can call a static method without creating an object of the class. Alright, so that is the basic takeaway. Now from a developer point of view, from a designer point of view, a person who likes to write good looking code, a person who likes to write usable code, here's the thing. I have written this circle class, and this circle class I am going to give to some person that person is going to use this class to create his or her own program, all right. But see what that person has to do. That person, I'm going to just give that person this class to that person, right? The person is going to be the end user of my class. That person is also a developer. That person is also going to write a program, all right. But what I don't want that person to do is, I don't want that person to be bothered with the inside thing of my class, all right. But what does the person have to do? That person has to initialize this circle scope resolution pi to 3.1415, all right. So this is problematic. I don't want that person to do this initialization. I want to do the initialization on my own, all right. But then when I do this initialization on my own inside my class, what is the problem that I am facing? My compiler says that I cannot do this initialization because pi is not constant. So a very straightforward thing to do, pi is of course a constant, okay. So the most straightforward thing to do would be to make pi constant, and I am not going to use this const keyword. I am going to use something else, const expr, okay. So constant expression. Now why am I using this instead of const? I will soon talk about it, but let us see if the error that we were facing, that error goes away. So pi was a static, pi was static. I was unable to initialize it inside the class because it was not constant. I have made it constant. Now let me go ahead and do this. Yes, now everything is fine. Now I can do this initialization inside my class, all right, and this, everything is fine, everything is good, okay. So let us see if pi is really constant. Inside my main function, I am going to set pi equal to 4, okay. I am trying to compile, and then I get this error, assignment of read-only variable. So yeah, pi is read-only, so I cannot update it, I cannot change it, I can only read it, okay. I cannot write anything to that. So yeah, everything is fine. Now before I end this video, want to talk a little bit about this constant expression, const expr. Why am I using this instead of const? The reason is pretty simple. When I write const expr, all right, this assignment of this value to this variable pi, okay, this happens in compile time, okay. So we do not wait till runtime to do this assignment, and because of that there is a little bit of speed up, okay. So code can be optimized in your final assembly, in your final object code, in your final machine language code, okay. Machine language code is basically a mnemonic, assembly code is basically a mnemonic for machine language. You, I hope, know this already. I hope you have studied COA. If not, you will study that in the next sem. So a good compiler, including our GCC compiler, will do this. Whenever it sees the value pi, all right, it is going to directly write 3.1415 in our object code. So this thing that we were doing, that we were looking up the memory to see what is the value at that location, all right, the location that pi is pointing to, we are not going to do that, all right. So we are going to save some amount of time, all right. So this is what we have. Now takeaway is this: static methods can be used without creating an object, can be used with an object as well. Static method cannot use non-static data attribute, cannot access non-static data attribute, can access static data attribute. Static data attribute can be initialized in class using by making it constant. If I don't make it constant, I cannot initialize in class. So these are points, and then I am going to show one final thing. Alright, so instead of writing that string over there, I am going to write this function get string, and this is going to return the string that we were writing over there. Okay, and here I am simply going to call this method, and I should get that string, right? This string is being written, I should get this string over here. Now the point that I am trying to show, that just like I was unable to access non-static data attribute inside my static method, I cannot call a non-static method from inside my static method. So I need to make this static as well. If I want to call this method from inside my static method, this getString method from inside my static method, I need to make this getString method static as well. So I can call only static method, and I can access only static data attribute from inside my static method. Alright, so let me go ahead, compile and run this, and I get the output that I expected to get. Now this is all about static. Alright, so we have seen basically 4 different things in this video. We saw how static works, how static primitive data type work inside a function. Then we saw how static class object, how static object works inside a function. Then we saw what it means for a data attribute to be static inside a class. And finally, we just saw how static member function, how static method of a class work. Alright, so this is all about static keyword in C++. I hope you have understood everything in this class. If not, feel free to reach out to me through WhatsApp, through mail, or by writing your doubts in the comment section below. Thank you for watching this video. In the next video, we will be looking at something called templates in C++. So see you in the next video.